They said there's no doubt you'll surely lose. Go ahead and sing your tune. We didn't listen, stayed right on the truth. And now we're on the right side of the news.
Hey, poke the hornet's nest. We got some poking to do, my homies. Here we are. I'm here with Leslie, and good morning. You know, I have the online version of the Reading Record Searchlight just to keep up with up-to-the-minute news, and I want to read you the first paragraph of a story this morning that came out. Mind you, this is 2 days after Labor Day. Here it goes. Staff at the Northern California parks, Whiskeytown National Recreational Park, Lassen Volcanic National Park, and Lava Beds National Monument are preparing for large crowds over Memorial Weekend. Isn't that? I'm glad they got that news to us 2 days after Memorial Day. Considering the kickoff for the summer high season, Memorial Day is one of the 3 busiest times of the year for the parks, according to the National Park Service. And they gave us a rundown on what the fees are to get into the parks. This is for Lava Beds National Park, but they're basically the same for Lassen and Whiskeytown. A standard 7-day pass to visit Lava National Monument is $15 for cyclists. I mean, you ride your bicycle in, it's $15, and people on foot. $20 for motorcycles with no more than 2 people on them. They must think we're in Bangladesh. And $25 for vehicles. Can you believe that? You can't get a 1-day pass for $5 or something. You've got to buy a week pass for $25. I just think that's absolutely ridiculous when you consider that we paid for these parks, we developed these parks, we pay for the people that are operating the parks. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. And then we've got what's going on over in Iran with President Trump and whoever's in charge over there. And they're just putting off, and Trump's letting them get away with it. Declared Tuesday, this is the head cheese for Iran. He declared Tuesday, death to America, death to Israel would become a rallying cry to the Muslim world, while vowing that the Jewish state was nearing its final stages of existence. And they keep putting off trying to make a peaceful negotiation. They don't want to negotiate. They don't want peace. And I think, in my opinion, it needs to be settled once and for all. Unless we're going to send John Kerry and, what's that guy's name, James Taylor, over to sing "You Got a Friend." That was almost as dumb as Matt Plummer here at the Shasta County Supervisors saying that once all of our programs get going for housing the homeless, that we'll be able to direct the homeless person to the one that fits him best, and homelessness will go away in Shasta County.
Right, because Gavin Newsom's plan to end homelessness has worked so well.
That's right. I can't believe that guy that's running in Los Angeles against Karen Bass, his name escapes me.
Spencer Pratt.
Yeah, lots of names escape me anymore. But he got some homeless on there, and he got somebody else, and he said that basically 85% of them are drug addicts. Putting them in a house isn't going to change that. And that's absolutely the truth. And a lot of them, you give them a house, they don't want to stay there. I saw 2 examples of that in Redding, California. I saw a fellow I graduated from high school with, Rich Murphy, and the taxpayers had rented him an apartment someplace, I don't know, and he just let people stay there. Rich lived on the streets. And then there was a cat lady, what was her name? Sweet Barbara. She hung out down at Rayleigh's when it was open down on Hartnell, and she fed the kitty cats back there, and she had a crew of them. And some of the guys that had a business by there one of them had bought a brand new pickup. And he's working like 30 feet from his pickup, maybe a little bit more. And he had his dog inside, parked in the shade with the windows down. The cat lady comes along and pours a can of cat food on the seat for the dog. Brand new pickup. And they got to talking, and she had wrinkles all over her. They nicknamed her Old Jerky, and that fit her. She got kicked out of Raley's. She got angry about something, and you know the turnstile type handles they have when you walk in and the door. Well, she got right there and lifted up her her skirt and urinated right there. And I saw that guy. I think it was Jermaine at the Cascade Theater talking about the homeless, and Donnell, whatever his last name is, he's talking about alcohol disorder instead of alcoholics, and drug disorder. Now it's all a disorder. Mm-hmm. He was, Jermaine, he's saying, and sweet Barbara, she passed on. We miss sweet Barbara. Yeah, Barbara wasn't so sweet. Anyway, we'll move on from there. But yeah, I'd like to know what people think about what's going on in Iran. You know, they will tell us anything to keep going. And actually, nobody knows who's in charge. The people there don't even know who's in charge. They haven't had internet for, I think, 90 days now. They don't have a clue what's going on. And I'm surprised that Trump is having so much patience with them, because I certainly wouldn't. It takes patience. You know, Trump needs to, he could handle Dolores Lucero. He's got enough patience to handle her. He and Clint Curtis, I can't believe the patience that Clint had at his press conference, the one time he had the opportunity to defend himself against false charges. And she was there with a bullhorn. And you could find it on YouTube. Probably type in Dolores goes off at press conference and it'll pop up. It was just really something. But we'll move on to that. Oh, and here's what happened in Iran lately in the last few days. U.S. Central Command said it carried out self-defense strikes in southern Iran to protect our troops from threats posed by Iranian forces. That's ridiculous. If we have to protect ourselves from threats from Iran, we're at war. Let's go finish it. Really. I mean, it sounds logical to me. Explosions were reported in southern Iran early on the 28th local time, hours before indirect talks on a proposed reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and in the war set to take place in Qatar. It was a flagrant violation by Iran. Indirect talks. You know, when I deal with somebody, if no matter what it is, if I'm negotiating a job or anything, you don't want somebody between you and the person that you're negotiating with, because middle people always get things screwed up. I call them a third party. So why would we do something this important with a third party? Because you find them changing things on the way. That was one of my complaints about the city of Reading when it came to labor negotiations. The labor union doesn't go and deal directly with the city council. They deal with the city manager, and the city manager goes to the city council. The city council tells the mayor what he wants. The mayor goes to the union and tells them. The union tells him what they want, and it goes back and forth. And I suspect with the last three city managers, things got jumbled in their favor quite often. What would be your opinion on that?
I think more than jumbled, but I also think that we had some city council members that were quite complicit. So I don't know that we can blame it all on a middleman. There were some people who
things get mixed up. It's better if the two parties negotiate together. You know, the union should go in and sit down at the chamber and deal with the city council people directly. And I know what my attitude would be right now. The unions would say, well, we want a 3% raise and another holiday, And I would say, we're broke. You're lucky we don't cut your pay.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, and, you know, this is what I've been saying is my biggest gripe with the financial situation in the city of Reading is how many times do you hear Director Robinette say, oh, well, that's discretionary funds that, you know, staff uses for whatever. If you want us to bring it to council, then we can start. Oh, well, that's a discretionary section over here. Oh, well, that's normally in past history, staff has made those decisions. Oh, does the council really want to be concerned with this? Well, you know, if you do, then I can bring you those numbers. I think it's time, and Tanessa's been trying, that the council walks in and says, we want all the numbers, this entire checkbook, all departments, answers to us. It is our sole responsibility to make sure that this city is financially sound. And we no longer, nothing is discretionary. Nothing is to be decided by staff. Council makes all of those decisions, and they need to start taking their power back. Until that happens, we're going to continue to sit in the situation we're in.
Well, I would add that to that, and damn few things need to be worked over in closed session. It should all be in front of us. Very few things should be done in closed session, in my humble opinion. So Pop's Place. You remember that? Drive-in,
Yes.
south of town, when some of Aaron Reisner's friends, the homeless people, burn it down. Well, it's about 3 years ago. It's going to open up pretty quick. It's got a different name, but it's been rebuilt. It looks really nice. I forget what the name was, but it's going to be opened up pretty quick. And I started thinking about all the places that the homeless have burned up. And they've burned up quite a few places around town.
You mean like Bidwell Mansion?
Oh, boy. Isn't that something? For no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was tweaking on drugs. If we just get him a little counseling and dry him out for a week, we'll forgive him. Oh, well. And then we've got Measure B. There's a supervisors meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. It's closed session, but you can go there and do public comment. I tried to look and see what it was all about on the internet, and the agenda, that's all it said. It's Jennifer Caskey versus Clint Curtis. And I'm just guessing, but I wonder if the council is going to decide whether they want to defend Clint Curtis or not.
Well, and here's the thing. The judge already ordered that she has to pay damages to...
A little over $3,000 on the one, and I
yeah.
think it's a little over $3,000 on the second one.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If the Board of Supervisors is going to agree to pay for Stephanie Bridget's defense, I think this is a no-brainer. They pay for Clint Curtis's.
Well, absolutely, especially when Caskey's completely in the wrong. I understand her lawsuit, which was miles long, is artificial intelligence. That means it was written by a liberal. Ha! I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
And, Clint Curtis is basically an employee of the county. We elected him. He's more or less an employee. Hell yes, you stick up for him for something like that.
Right. And I definitely think that something like this deserves to have the county council defend it.
I hope they run up the bill and she has to pay that. But, one thing about her paying, I just saw this on a comment section of one of the local scandal sheets. She started a GoFundMe type deal to pay for the one.
Oh my. Okay, so let's talk about starting GoFundMes for lawsuits and court fees, because there's a super unhinged individual who I have a restraining order against, as well as one of my friends, and he was ordered court fees
to
be paid within 30, 90 days, whatever it was. He did a GoFundMe, got the amount he needed within 2 days and a surplus, which he then posted a whole, stop giving. I already got more than I needed. And then where should I give all this extra money? We're just swimming in extra money. And he posts all of this to the internet. Guess what? It's been almost a year and a half. I have not received a single penny. And my friend has been getting $20 checks that just get slipped under his door because he gets to make installments because he's low income.
I had a friend, he's died, Clay Newman. He owned the Tropics bar down south of town, and then his son bought it for him, and then his son sold it. But anyway, Clay cashed checks, and he left he had a lot of cash in his safe. I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 to cash checks, probably more than that on payday. And one of his bartenders opened it up, ripped him off, and vamoosed. And they caught up with him and convicted him and had him pay restitution. And Clay got $25 a month. Probably $5,000 was stolen from him or more. When you get that kind of money, it just goes in your pocket. It doesn't get replaced in your bank account or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, I got a kick out of Common Grounds and what was it? What was Jessica French's show? Shasta
Unmasked.
Shasta Unmasked. They were financed through a GoFundMe, and they lost their funding. They only lasted about 6 months. Mm-hmm. Wasn't a very interesting show.
Well, 3/4 of it was about fighting the stuff we were working on. So
yeah,
the thing is, you're not going to be successful when you don't stand for something. When all you're doing is fighting against something, people get tired of listening to you just whine.
That's right. I also saw in the paper this morning that the county is considering or probably going to have to go with furloughs for Health and Human Services. Well, that's the way it is. The city's probably going to have to do the same thing.
Well, and that's a statewide issue.
Yes.
And it's, even across the country. But that is, and everybody wants to say, oh, this is HR 1 and the big, beautiful bill is crippling everybody. No, what they're doing is they are trying to gut this entire system and get out all of the waste and the fraud.
Oh,
and
you're going to love this clip I got coming up.
People have got to stop using the ER as a walk-in clinic for a bee sting or for there's plenty of walk-in clinics all over town.
That's right.
And, I took my daughter. She had a legitimate emergency, took her to the emergency room. I'm sitting there with a panicked toddler. And there's this girl who's this pregnant drinking a Dr. Pepper that's about this big. And she's there with her friend who has a headache. And she's telling her friend, it's fine. I come here all the time. In fact, you know what? You could probably just use my card to get in. That's not how Medi-Cal works.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's abused. I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, I was talking to somebody, and the last time they did a furlough, I don't know when it was. Maybe it was 2008 or something. They got in a bind. And the city employees didn't want to come back. They liked the being on there for 4 days a week. Mm-hmm. And they get paid enough money. It's not like, and I got a kick. The paper said they took a cut in pay. Well, the fact is they didn't work that day. So that's not a cut in pay. That's you didn't get paid because you didn't work.
Right.
They've got a lot of ways of sharp penciling things. And the thing I don't like about the county, its furlough and its deficit, is they're trying to blame it on Kevin Cry, when in fact it's mandates by the state that the state's supposed to reimburse them for, and the reimbursements aren't coming in, so it's Kevin's fault.
You know why? And I know because I sat in the hearing. Because the state is saying, oh, we don't have enough to reimburse for this, 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 and this. By the way, unfunded mandates that they require that we pick up the tab for, and they're supposed to reimburse us. Yet, you know what they were trying to do?
No, I don't. Tell us.
Tell us. They wanted to extend an extra $26 million for mutilation and sterilization of minors. They wanted to then add to the abortion fund and call it reproductive care.
Yes.
Right? So you're already not reimbursing for the things that are done. But because they know that they have people with such a strong Trump derangement syndrome that they can go in and go, his big, beautiful bill is threatening the lives of minors and women who are being forced to have their babies, that they're going in and saying, we're going to give an extra $26 million. Do you know, we wouldn't have to furlough our employees if we weren't wasting $26 million on trying to mutilate and sterilize minors. And then Joe Patterson, one of the only assembly members that spoke up, said, okay, if you're calling abortions reproductive care, I want whatever money is being funneled in to allow people to end their pregnancy to also go to those who choose to keep their pregnancy. Because if it's reproductive care, and we're calling this women's health, the people who choose to keep their baby rather than kill it deserve to have extended funding as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, but nobody wants to hear that.
Well, that depends on it. I've seen, I raised a little boy by myself, and I got really involved with the school and after-school programs and this and that. And, boy, I saw people take advantage of all kinds of programs that were crummy parents. Their kids, you could look at them and see their kids were going to be criminals and drug addicts. And one of the worst ones, what's that program before they start school?
First Five Shasta?
No.
Head Start?
That's it. That was a babysitting service for them. And it was just disgusting. And I was so disappointed with that. So let's go to this clip on J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance had a conference about fraud and getting rid of the fraud in the United States. And it's on the internet. What's the name on it there? If you go to YouTube, you can find it because I got it on.
Vice President J.D. Vance holds a state attorney general roundtable on anti-fraud initiatives.
If you just go to YouTube and dial in roundtable on anti-fraud, it'll pop up. It's about 20 minutes. We're going to play about 5 or 6 minutes of the best part of it. This is Stephen Miller.
For leading this effort, for helming this task force, for bringing us all together here. I think you can all agree that this is the fastest in history that a government task force has traveled from creation to action. Your typical lead time is going to be a year of meetings before anything happens, and that's if you're lucky. And within weeks of this task force being established, we've seen the largest ever slate of indictments, recovered funds, search warrants, raids, seizures, investigations, and new legal actions to stop, disrupt, and prevent fraud. What we've learned, which is not surprising to those of us who've spent some time in this area, is that fraud is every bit as bad as President Trump said it was, and even worse. So in other words, everything we found either confirms our worst fears or exceeds them. That's the bad news. The good news is that the best team in government under the leadership of Vice President Vance has been assembled to deal with it. And of course, one of those men who you'll hear from in a second is sitting to my right here, the Associate Attorney General for Fraud Enforcement, Colin McDonald. But before I yield the floor, I do want to just touch on one of the points that Andrew hit on in his remarks. All of the systems in our country, whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about entitlements, whether you're talking about welfare benefits, were set up based on the honor system. They're set up based on the idea that you could trust the average person through their own morality to abide by the rules and comply with the law. And so the way most welfare works in most states and most places is we take your word for it. If you fill out a piece of paper and you say your kids are hungry, you are going to get food stamps. We don't check as a country if you even have kids. The fact is basic as that. We don't even check if you even have children. You will just start getting the checks. And so what's happened to our country is we became a society, as we've seen with the Somali refugee problem in Minnesota, where you have a large number of people that are not following the honor system, they're not playing by the rules, they're not abiding by our laws, and the amount that has been fleeced from us is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country. In the meantime, because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. 50 days ago today, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced the creation of the National Fraud Enforcement Division at the Department of Justice. And today, 50 days later, the Fraud Division has announced 450 major fraud events occurring across the country, from charges to convictions to sentences. We are off to a rapid start to protect you, the American taxpayer, and ensure that your dollars stay where they belong, and that is in your pocket. When an individual's money is stolen, that individual takes it personally and does everything they can to recover their money. This task force, under the Vice President's leadership, we are here to take it personally every time someone decides to rob the United States of their money. We are here to take it personally when someone decides to take money from a program designed to give money, food, health care to the needy, the sick, and the elderly. That is what the Fraud Division is here to do. It's to take it personally for you, the United States of America, when your money is stolen. In the last 50 days, our work includes the unprecedented charges against 15 defendants for Medicaid fraud schemes in Minnesota. It includes charges in a $650 million sober homes Medicaid fraud scheme in Arizona. It includes a guilty plea in a $270 million Medicaid fraud scheme in California. Those are just a few of the successes of the Fraud Division and the Department of Justice in the last 50 days. And we're only getting started. This is just the beginning of our fight against fraud, and that's where these partners come into play, because we need your help. Our division is called the National Fraud Enforcement Division for a reason. It's not the Washington, D.C. Fraud Task Force. It's the National Fraud Enforcement Division, because the fraud problem is national, and our state partnerships are critical to solving the fraud crisis in our country. So I'm going to give 3 things that our state partners here can do right now today. Number 1, we heard about the Medicaid fraud control units. Re-energize and fully mobilize, fully maximize your state's Medicaid fraud control units. When we're done, we want to rename those into the Making Fraud Completely Unprofitable Unit, MFUCU. These units are your state's and really the country's first line of defense against Medicaid fraud.
So anyway, that makes me really proud, and this is the residual effects, if not the direct effects, of Doge. I believe that Doge claimed they were dispersing because of threats on their life, being doxxed, and maybe Maxine Waters got after them. But the fact is, without them, this wouldn't have come to light. And I'm proud of our president. I'm proud of J.D. Vance and all these people that are holding this fraud accountable.
Well, and I think this is a perfect segue to what I was researching and getting kind of passionate about last night. And that's the fact that California, in the state assembly yesterday, passed the Stop Nick Shirley Act, which Mia Bonta came up with. She is the wife of Rob Bonta, our attorney general. And basically, it makes it illegal to uncover and report on fraud, just like what they're discussing. And so I looked it up, and the vote on that was 49-19. If we were to...
Was it 49-19 to pass it, or?
To pass it.
Okay.
Okay. So if we, as conservatives, not even just Republicans, but people who want to use common sense and are sick and tired of our state running the way it is, only went and filled the positions where somebody is running unopposed, that would drop that vote to 45-23. Okay? So there are 4 positions where a Democratic incumbent is running completely unopposed. Nobody's even trying for that seat. That is a failure. Then, if we were to have someone run in a race where 0 Republicans or independents registered, this is only Democrats running against Democrats, we would increase by another 9, which would have made that vote 36 to 32. And then it would be a very small jump to get people to start running, because we have another, I think it's 8 seats where nobody's running. And we are just leaving it open to the people who have already been in here making these bad decisions. And so we as a state have failed.
Absolutely.
We as a state have not stood up and said, enough is enough. I'm tired of these rules. I'm tired of the laws that you're passing. They have legislation that's going through right now where you are not allowed to question what's going on with the train to nowhere. Completely seals all the information. You are not allowed to question where that money went.
And if you question it twice, you're going to be prosecuted.
If you question it once, you're going to be prosecuted.
I just made that up. Yeah. Nick Shirley, you can't investigate fraud.
That's this bill that passed yesterday.
How ridiculous is that? And they'll be telling the papers what they can put in the paper and what they can't. They probably already are.
That's exactly what the bill says. Mm-hmm. You cannot do investigative journalism where you uncover and report out about these agencies.
Yes.
That's what the bill is. It's ridiculous. So we as Californians need to wake the hell up and say enough is enough. We're taking back our state. Every 2 years, the entire assembly, that is 80 seats, get changed.
Well, you know, when I first got involved with the state of Jefferson, I thought it was just a great idea, but I felt like we needed to start locally and build a foundation, that we weren't going to just split it in half, and it didn't come to fruition. But if that money that was spent trying to get the state of Jefferson, and it was over $650,000, I believe if that was spent trying to go back to where every county or close to every county had a senator, that would have gone a long ways, because the Senate could vote against bills, and a lot of these bills that are just cutting our throats wouldn't have gone through. And that is something that really needs to be done in California. Every county should have a senator, in my opinion. One.
Well, and you know what is really, I think, inspiring and I think is great? I don't know, I'm sure you were, because you're at as many meetings as I am, when James Gallagher came and presented his state split initiative.
Okay.
It is recirculating. Just because he's running for Congress, just because he's doing all this other stuff and trying to pick up the mantle where Doug left off, doesn't mean he's let that go. In fact, I had an entire conversation with him about it when I was down in Sacramento. And I told him I'm completely inspired by his plan, because it includes so many of those counties that were part of the original Jefferson State Initiative.
Sure.
That now get cut off based on the models that are presented. But the other thing it does is it brings together the infighting and the groups that it'll never work. New California State will never work. One, because they cannot get along with the other groups that are trying to split, and they've become, it's just like Bianco and Hilton. We've fractured that Republican Party so much that neither one of them is going to make it through the primary, because they've completely split less than 25% of the vote. So New California State and the state of Jefferson people are doing what Republicans do best, and they're not fighting their common enemy, they're fighting each other, right?
Sure. That could be said about the local conservatives in Shasta County.
100%. Like I said, it's what Republicans do best. Let's eat each other alive. And so the other thing is New California State's not contiguous. They have like this floating island of liberalism right in the middle of their thing. You can't do that. It's not legal.
That's right. Well, neither is the state of Jefferson. And you can't do that. You've got to have the state legislature and the federal legislature say, okay, and it ain't going to happen.
But I think with James Gallagher's proposal, he has split it in such a way that I think the majority of everybody is happy. And he has buy-in from both groups, which is unprecedented.
Let me ask you something. Is he running just to finish LaMalfa's term?
No. So he has, on our ballot, it's two spots, two different spots. You pick who's the interim short term,
Yes.
and then you pick who's our new one with the new districting. If you live in Butte County or one of the other regions he represents, you actually get two separate ballots. Because what he's doing is he's running for Doug's old position, which includes us and them.
Okay.
And he's running for the new vacancy,
That
which is
doesn't
just them
include
and not
us.
us.
Okay, now I understand.
Which is why-
I didn't understand that. Yes.
I am going to flee Shasta County and move to Butte County because I would much rather be represented by James Gallagher than whatever mess we've got going up here.
Well, I think every place has its mess going on, but Butte County's got plenty of prosecuting attorneys now because they're all leaving Shasta County. Why prosecute if you haven't got any place to put them?
Well, and I think it's great. We've taken all of our problem children and they've fled, because if you look back 4 years from now, or 4 years before now, and you look at that race for district attorney and you look at all the things that were uncovered, the Brady violations, the, just failed cases, the lack of filings, all the things that she's saying now are, oh, well, it's unsafe and we can't do this and we can't do that. You admitted to campaigning during work hours. You have people who have been sitting in jail illegally because you're not filing cases. You have had a backlog for so many years. And I am waiting on my public records request that I did through the county to find out what the turnover's been for the past 10 years and prove that none of this is a leadership issue with the county. It is a leadership issue under Stephanie Bridget, and the fact that she just flat out is failing at her job. So I have another issue with our district attorney and things that are not being handled well. One of my best friends was getting death threats from Stephen King before he went in, before
Okay,
he shot somebody.
Sure.
And Stephen King had sent a photo of the front of their house with their children.
Oh, no.
And the response from law enforcement was just block him. That's what we do. Well, we've talked about it. The guy that I'm dating was former CHP, and he said, you absolutely cannot just block somebody who's a threat to you, because then when they ramp up and they are going to do something violent, you have no way of knowing it's happening, right? So you are taking away your warning system when you just block them.
Well, sure.
Right? So law enforcement told her, don't stress about it, just block him.
Sure.
That's what we do. So law enforcement has him blocked on email, phones, everything. He can't reach out. So Stephen King keeps ramping up because that's what he did. And then he shoots somebody. And I don't know if you weren't at the hearing.
No, I wasn't.
But when they played the 911 call, he said, I just shot somebody through my door. I don't know who it was. It could be. And he lists about 17 people that he could have shot through his door.
Was I on it?
No.
I made Nathan Pinkney's 50
His
most
hit
dangerous
list.
list.
I know. I did too. But the thing is, he's going on and on and on about all these people he could have shot. And so it was chilling to listen to that. Like, this is how many people he is targeting and being an issue with. And now that he's in the jail, he is calling. There is somebody running for office right now who has been getting 3 to 8 phone calls a day from Stephen King in jail and had to report it to the sheriff. Hey, this is harassment. This is ridiculous. He's doing it from in jail. So
I've got personal experience with Stephen King calling from the jail. He started calling, I don't know, 2 months ago, a little bit more. Would I accept a collect call from the Shasta County Jail? And then he says, Stephen George King. And, I just hang up on it. One day about 5 weeks ago, on a Sunday, he called, I don't know, 6 or 8 or 12 times before my show started, before 8:30 in the morning when I headed for KQMS. And then while I was at KQMS, he called 17 or 18 times and left it on my message machine. He called 31 times that day. And then he laid off a little bit, would call 4 or 5 times a day. And I called up the jail, and I explained to the jailer that I don't know this guy. He's calling. He's making a pest out of himself. Could you block the calls? He says, well, I'll talk to a supervisor up on that floor. Well, I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and now he's started up again. He's been calling me for a couple of weeks straight, and yesterday he called, I don't know if it was 4:45 or 5:45 in the morning. He probably thinks I'm in bed, but I get up a lot earlier than that. And he called 3 or 4 times, and I happened to be talking to one of the supervisors. And I says, do you think you could ask the sheriff to block him calling me? And he said he's going to do what he can. He would call the sheriff and somebody else and trying to get him to block me. But, you know, that's harassment. That's as bad as Dolores Lucero standing 15 foot away from Clint Curtis when he's trying to defend himself. She's got a bullhorn and talking over him.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to happen because
That's right.
Jenny had her little meltdown, got arrested, got convicted by a jury. And the week that she was sentenced, her husband did the same thing. Threw a big fit, demanded to be arrested, got arrested. Where are the charges filed on that? Where's the actual consequences? And then she does it again.
Yes.
This behavior by these extreme agitators is so much so that if our district attorney doesn't start doing something, one of them is going to come in and do something crazy.
Oh, yes,
And
absolutely.
it is a public safety issue.
Well, they're mentally unbalanced. I will go on the record as saying, in my opinion, Jenny Noane and Dolores Lucero are mentally unbalanced. And I worry about maybe they bringing a knife or even a gun to a meeting. And, you know, it's the broken window theory. You know, address it when it first starts. Stop it there, you know. But we have just kept letting it go and go and go. And it's out of control now. Well, look at Susan Wilson. She admitted to embezzling, $35,000+,
37, I think it was.
by taking a raise that she wasn't authorized and getting health benefits that wasn't authorized. She claimed that they went along with the job, but the investigating police officer asked the previous director if he had health benefits, and he said no, so it was new to Susan Wilson. And what'd Bridget say? There's not enough evidence to prosecute.
Right. An admission of guilt. And in the police report, they said there was findings of 35,000 or 37,000 unauthorized funds. Findings of that.
I'd like to see the difference between the first report and the second report, because the second report said there wasn't enough to prosecute
Yeah.
when she sent it back. You know, and that just goes along with, look at the Register of Voters race. You've got Joanna, and she was in on doing something wrong in Shasta Lake City, and they had to have a special election. That's incompetence. She was instrumental in getting Alan Long elected because she didn't do the list of the names correctly. She locked us up, locked us out, essentially. She lied on my show. She said that she hadn't hired Frank Treadway as a campaign advisor. Well, as a matter of fact, she'd spent $1,000 and hired him as one of the senior campaign advisors. It just goes on and on and on, and it's like Trump derangement syndrome. They hate Clint, so they're going to vote for her. They think she's the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, I mean, I've said it over and over and over, Nick. We've got 3 types of derangement syndrome in Shasta County. We've got Trump derangement syndrome. We've got chair of the board derangement syndrome, which, I don't know, Chris, he is one of my closest friends. I love him dearly. He is the Teflon politician because nothing sticks to him. He's the chair of the board and nobody's outraged. It's still Kevin derangement syndrome, right? It was Patrick derangement syndrome, and then it was Kevin derangement syndrome. And the Kevin derangement syndrome is so strong that it's not sticking to Chris. And then the third one is Bethel derangement syndrome. Both sides hate Bethel. Everybody has it. And the thing is, derangement syndrome's derangement syndrome. I've admitted to it before. I think there was a period of time where I had Mary Rickert derangement syndrome. Derangement syndrome is derangement syndrome. You are not making logical decisions because you emotionally are stuck on your hatred. It's ridiculous.
Well, sometimes it's deserved.
I mean, I would argue yes.
Let's call her quits. Nice show, Leslie. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Nick.
Have a great day.
You too.